premise, I'm very sick. I'm trying to talk as loud as I can. Sorry. Statistics show that 17 prisoners have been executed in the United States in 2023. And since 2000, 378 prisoners have been executed, according to the Death Penalty Information Center. Today, I will present an argument that the U.S. House of Representatives should pass Bill H.R. 4633, the Federal Death Penalty Prohibition Act. This act would make it so no one in the U.S. could be sentenced to death after the day of enactment for any violation of federal law. Additionally, anyone sentenced before this enactment should be resentenced. One side agrees that abolishing the death penalty would be to our overall benefit. One person who is for abolishing the death penalty is the United Nations chief, Volker Folk, who believes that by eradicating the death penalty, we can get dignity back into our society. H.R. 4633 has 60 Democratic co-sponsors in Congress. On the other side, others argue against abolishing the death penalty in the U.S. due to the fact that they believe it benefits our grieving families and rids the opportunity for repetition. As of 2021, 54% of Americans voted in favor of the death penalty, according to the DPIC. Texas is the number one state of executions, and in 2001 to 2014, 279 executions occurred under Governor Rick Perry. I stand with Chief Volker and the 60 supporting representatives who believe that abolishing the death penalty is necessary for us to move forward. I've always cared deeply about justice and equality and been particularly interested in our criminal justice system and stood against unrightful imprisonment, and I believe in that you are innocent until proven guilty. To present my argument without bias, I have done extensive research on both sides of the argument and kept an open mind. I have researched credible and reliable sources to provide evidence that is trustworthy. Today, I will be discussing 3 reasons why the U.S. House of Representatives should pass the Federal Death Penalty Prohibition Act. First, it would be a step forward in racial injustice in our country. Second, by passing this act, our tax dollars would be spent more valuably. And third, despite my opposition's claims, the death penalty has little to no impact on crime rates and occurrence. Now that I've been over what I'm going to discuss today, let's start out by talking about the first reason that this should be passed. To begin, the U.S. House of Representatives passing the Federal Death Penalty Prohibition Act would take a large step in solving racial injustices in our criminal justice system. The death penalty is well known for being racially biased. According to the DPIC, historically, when the death penalty was applied to rape crimes, 89% of executions involved Black defendants, and most of those were for rape of white women. As of 2019, according to the NACDL, Black and Hispanics make up 31% of the U.S. population, but 53% of death row inmates. Since 1974, 106 Black inmates who were sentenced to death were later proven innocent. By eliminating the death penalty, it would prevent these injustices from ever occurring. According to Vera.org, 70% of countries in the world have eliminated the death penalty and are one step ahead of us. 25 United States have gotten rid of the death penalty, leaving half of us to go, including Idaho. According to Equal Justice USA, the U.S. Supreme Court acknowledged racial injustice in the death penalty, but during McClincy and Kemp's trial, but has overall failed to make a change. Abolishing the death penalty would not only take a step towards racial change, but put our tax dollars to better use. For my next argument, the U.S. House of Representatives passing the Federal Death Penalty Prohibition Act will save our tax dollars for something more valuable. According to Equal Justice USA, a single death in Maryland costs $2 million more than when compared to non-death penalty cases. Our tax dollars not only pay for the death itself, but for legal costs, pre-trial, jury selection, trial, incarceration, and appeal. And according to DPIC, the death penalty trials can last as much as 4 times as long as regular trials, and compensation is required for the time spent. And 68% of these trials are overturned, making it overall a waste of time and money. To prevent our hard-earned money from being wasted, abolishing the death penalty could put our tax dollars to use elsewhere. According to Equal Justice USA, in 2005 to 2006, North Carolina, eliminating the death penalty would have saved $22 $22 million in tax revenue. Resources can instead be used for grief counseling, for scholarships for the children involved, etc. Resources can also go to the prevention of the crimes such as law enforcement and substance abuse prevention. Research shows that eliminating the death penalty will have a positive impact on how our tax dollars are spent. Now let's discuss why the death penalty is not useful when it comes to crime rate and occurrence. Despite my opposition's claims, the death penalty does little to no good in improving the crime rate in this country. First, I will use differentiation to show the fear of death to prevent crime is no different from life in prison. The opposition believes that if murders are executed, potential murderers will think twice in fear of losing their own life. According to DPIC Attorney General Jim Maddox found in his experience, those in Texas were not deterred by the death penalty, but usually crimes were caused by drug and alcohol abuse. Next, I will attack the opposition's evidence, which is proven to be inaccurate. According to the DPIC, Isaac and Rick produced evidence that for every inmate executed for murder, 7 lives were spared. However, research shows that states that don't use the death penalty have lower crime rates than states that do. And the U.S. alone has higher murder rates than countries without the death penalty, such as Canada. From the evidence I provided, Enrich's evidence is proven to be irrelevant in the impact of death penalty on murder rates and occurrence. Now that I have went over the opposition's claims and their significance, let's review why the U.S. House of Representatives should pass the Federal Death Penalty Prohibition Act. It is to the benefit of the United States that we pass the Death Penalty Prohibition Act. First, it'll take steps towards racial injustice in the criminal justice system. Next, it'll put our tax dollars to better use. And finally, despite the opposition's claim, the death penalty has little to no impact in decreasing crime rates and occurrence. The death penalty has a history of problems and controversy, and in order to make changes in our criminal justice system, this is a very important step. And these are my notes.